Today we check out the HISENSE U8N ULED Mini-LED at 65 inches. Up next.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me as we check out the 65-inch U8N ULED Mini LED. We spent a ton of time with HISENSE last year with the U7K, U8K, and the UX. I still have the U7K and U8K. I was excited to get the U8N in-house. The U7N is on the way. But for today, we'll spend time with the U8N at 65 inches. We'll do a brief unboxing and setup. We'll go through its features, its presets, its gaming. Then we're gonna follow up with a comparison to last year's U8K of the same size. But for now, without further ado, let's check out the 65-inch HISENSE U8N ULED Mini LED. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. HISENSE U8N backlit remote, much more high-end and streamlined than last year's U8K remote. Detachable power cable, screws for the center stand, batteries, and setup guide. Here's last year's U8K remote, same as last year's U7K remote, which was also backlit. This year, more brush metal, more streamlined, higher end. Now, HISENSE is trying desperately to escape the value market, showing that they are more high-end. And starting with the last few years, they've delivered very high-end picture quality for a value price. They continue that again this year. The reason I'm showing you the unboxing a little bit faster is simply to highlight, even at this price point, it is very high quality in terms of how it's packaged. You have a center stand this year, which is a welcome addition. Very easy to put together, very sturdy. It does have two different positions, high and low. Last year's U8K had these little feet that went narrow and wide, high and low. There's the U8K 65-inch from last year. Stand comes apart for some cable management, very easy to install. Now, why I show the packaging is, again, your TV is very well protected, especially at this price point. Many of you will discuss high-end TVs or high-end manufacturers. The TVs are not well protected. There's plastic all over the front of the screen, as well as those little styrofoam covers, styrofoam everywhere, bag over the top. The TV is very well protected as we check out the back of the panel. Very similar to last year's U8K as far as the back of the panel. It's missing the little outpushed speakers that the U8K has, though it does sound better in my opinion. HDMI inputs there. Now I'm going to lose the light a little bit, so I'm going to circle back and check out the HDMI inputs here. You have 4 HDMI, 2 full bandwidth. The most important thing is the eARC is not one of the HDMI 2.1. There's the 2 different holes for 2 different stand heights. This is the higher height. It's only a few inches, if any, but showing you how it sits. You literally just slide it down 1.5 inches or 2 inches. And then what we end up with at the end is the closer one, which is here. And that's how it sits. Again, does feel very high-end. It is a mini LED. Quantum dot, they call it ULED, using the HiView Engine Pro. 2000 zones. Take the plastic off. What you're noticing as I'm taking it off, the local dimming is unbelievable. The exposure is at auto. There's your backlit remote. Again, very premium. Something, as many of you have mentioned, the other manufacturers need to take notice of that have TVs that are quadruple or triple the price. So commend them for the packaging, for the remote. Go through the setup really quick. I do like, it took an update. I do like their little demo material that shows up in retail mode, which really highlights and shows you what you're gonna see. Extremely bright TV. Local dimming is off the charts, among some of the best I've seen in the last few years. Look at that. Even seeing the top of the line Sony's and Samsung's this year in regards to mini LED, this TV will go against any of them in regards to local dimming. Again, 2000 zones at the 65-inch. Very colorful, very bright. Now it is in retail mode. We're gonna then switch to the out-of-the-box preset and show you our first demo. I do this with every TV to see what it would look like at home for you when you take the TV out of the box. To me, this is very important. Throughout this video, this is a first impressions video. I'll follow up again with a full review and a comparison to the U8K. We will touch on gaming and all of the presets. Starting off, this is how it shows up to your house out of the box. Eco energy saving mode is enabled and the TV still looks pretty good. Now what I mean by pretty good is even out of the box and energy saving, it was a good looking image. HDR Theater is my favorite, more of a balanced attack versus standard and their more dynamic presets. It does have that nice touch of accuracy. Each one can be changed. We will jump around throughout the presets. Some you'll see, some you won't. But look at the local dimming in action. Contrast ratio is also excellent. Now you're not seeing the camera change or the exposure change to compensate for any blooming. And before you ask, I will go off angle and show you. This is a very bright TV. Now, what I want to do is also jump outside of filmmaker mode. It's not in filmmaker mode for this particular demo. I want to be able to show you how the local dimming behaves even at the brighter presets. Standard being the most popular. Standard is also very useful here. Checking out our good friend Jennifer Gala's content. Special thanks to Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HCR Super Channel. Check the description below for all the links to her channels. She's amazing. Very colorful, beautiful image. Now with mini LEDs, to me what's most important is, can it be bright? Can it have HDR impact while retaining its local dimming? And the answer with the U8N, even over last year's U8K, is a resounding yes. A lot of the talk with HISENSE at CES was their processing. HiView Engine Pro, talking a lot about how that it's improved. Going through the presets for you. Vivid, standard, sports. You will have a theater day and theater night when you are in SDR. You can even see when I click out of game, it will black out for a second and you're not seeing any blooming, even from the menu being on screen. Now, I was very happy with last year's U8K. In the U7K, it went against everything else that I had. You'll see the U8N also go against other TVs that I have at home. Specifically the U8K, U7K, and the U7N. These TVs are sent to me by HISENSE. I am not told what to say at all. But to be able to have 65 inches, so easy for comparison. I also covered last year's UX. This year, the U8N is not the flagship. It really wasn't last year. The UX was more of a concept TV. Now we have the U9N, which I won't have for review. They are going to be very scarce, much like the UX. I will try to review the UX for you guys at 110 inches. Hopefully you see the U6N as well. Now going through this demo here, very saturated demo from Jen. Being able to go through this, look at the black bars. And now I'll go through all the presets, and I will do this many times throughout this video, is keep the image on screen, go through the local dimming, and show you again flexibility of image. It can be made to look very accurate and then very punchy, as we illustrate here. You can see the praying mantis change from very colorful, I'll do this in the next demo as well, to more accurate and more realistic. More importantly, the black bars do not change or light up. That is a very natural image right there, without going overboard into where it's lifeless. Was not happy with last year's filmmaker mode for Hisense. Like it a little bit better this year. It's not my favorite preset on any TV. The fine detail is very good. I've not spent enough time with it to really see its upscaling capabilities. Watched a lot of movies and content of older films, but as far as fine detail of that kind of upscaling, spend more time. But for right now, I was very happy with its performance. Anything you see on the screen in terms of little lines, that's just my camera, not the screen. You can see my room behind me is clearly lit. There are some windows to my left. And as you saw from the unboxing, I've done this throughout the day and then into the evening. You can see the window to the right of the door behind the TV, so it is still light out. And again, jumping from preset to show you flexibility of image. These are very saturated demos from Jen. At around the 22-minute mark, we're going to go in and do audio and let that run. I'll let you know when that shows up. Now what Hisense also has is Dolby Vision, also has HDR10+, so you're covered in both of those. Dolby Vision implementation from Hisense and even HDR10+ are not my favorite. For me, I would rather skip that and go completely into HDR10 and just leave it there. Simply put, Dolby Vision and HDR10+ limit my ability to change the image, and I don't feel it's the best implementation is from Hisense. But it's here. Now I do feel the U8N is a good deal better than last year's U8K just without comparing them. I didn't compare them yet, just looking over my shoulder with the same demos. I can't wait to compare them for you. Our hopes is last year's U7K looks as good as last year's U8K. They were quite close in some ways. So I'm hoping the U7N is better than last year's U8K is what I should say. Going through the local dimming and the settings, all this is showing you is how the image changes and the flexibility. Again, showing you the black bars. Very bright TV. This is the 65-inch. I imagine as the TVs get larger, they will appear brighter. I know this sound, I think, goes from 50 watts to 60 watts with the 85-inch. Now our sizes are also 55, 65, 75, and 85. Hopefully, like last year's U8K, will have a 100-inch as well, which sold like crazy. The sizes from 55 to 75 have 144 Hz AGLR panel, Wi-Fi 6E, as well as their ATSC 3.0 over-the-air capabilities. But for right now, focusing on the 65-inch, absolutely loving it. Bright, vibrant, very saturated, which the U8K was capable of, but the U8K had a hard time then becoming accurate and then looking pleasing. It became which is which would you prefer? This way you get both. Now moving into one of our more difficult demos, we're going to do this in 2 different presets, and see there is no haloing at all. The transitions on this demo are very, very fast. So here we are in a more accurate preset. And you'll see us in real-time switch. And that was even theater versus, say, filmmaker. Now, if you see any grids or anything on the screen, again, that's my camera and the lighting conditions, not the TV itself. The amount of brightness hitting that screen and those transitions is hard for any LED or mini LED. Now, as far as these TVs being sent to me, let you guys know that last year, there is no communication on what to say, what to report, nothing. They're just sent, and there we go. So it works out well because I'm also able to then compare to last year's U7K, U8K, U8N, U7N. Hopefully this year I can get the U6N as well. No U9N or UX. The UX was filmed at Value Electronics last year. Going through more accurate colors to show you the differences in colors. Now, I loved about what they did last year with the UX. We put that against last year's Sony X95L. It hung right in there, and in some cases I preferred the UX. That processing is getting better year after year. The local dimming on the U8N I would put against any mini LED out there right now, even ones that are double and triple the price. And that's where you have to ask yourself, do I want a flagship at a smaller size from another company, or do I go with a larger HISENSE, which is why the U8K at 100 inches sold so well. A U8N at 100 inches would be amazing. Love these demos because they are accurate and they are true colors. You can change on the fly. That's why we switch the presets. They look good in every shot. The bubbles, the processing, everything is on point. And happy to report the build quality, which I should have mentioned a bit more earlier, is feeling more premium. That center stand does feel like it hangs there a bit better than those smaller feet, which tend to, over the years, bend a little bit. So build quality, much better. Backlit remote. Now the big question with HISENSE that I can't answer yet is how their customer service are going to be when something goes wrong. That's something they still have to improve on. Now, I love this next demo from Jen, other than the pizza, is the movement and the motion. Again, out of the box, no motion interpolation engaged by me. These are the settings, and you'll see it momentarily. No artifacting, no noise around the image. But as you can see from the demo material from our good friend Jen, it is varied, it is very different, and the TV pulls it off. There's the motion. Very smooth. Again, no artifacting at all. If the TV has poor motion, what you'll see with a lot of these demos is artifacting around the edges of the image as they move quickly. Also showing you how bright the TV actually gets. And the bubbles, as I mentioned, the fine details are there, they are intact. There's not a lot of posterization or noise within the image. Another tough demo here. The transition is very difficult. I feel like I know all these people who have been watching so many of these demos. Unfortunately, cannot show you movies due to copyright on YouTube. And as we get into the review, we'll talk more about upscaling. But right now, my limited time, the movies I've watched upscale pretty well. If I have a critique, I would still say I don't love the Dolby Vision implementation as much as other manufacturers. In HDR10 Plus, I can actually do without. It's great if you want to check a box and say that they're here. This is a crushing demo as well for local dimming. If you're buying a mini LED, your main thoughts should be peak brightness, local dimming, how they work in tandem with each other. You're not seeing the exposure change. We'll move into a darker room in a moment to show you how difficult these transitions are. No mini LED is ever going to be like an OLED, but for what this mini LED is doing, it's very close. So far into the image quality, love the difference of presets and flexibility of image. I enjoy the HDR impact. Motion seems very good. You'll see it again at the end of this next demo. Again, fast transitions. You'll see this bird fly across the screen, which is smooth as can be. Then you're going to see or hear the audio portion of it. Please turn your volume up and you'll hear the content from our good friend Jennifer Gala. I will see you in a moment. Thank you, Jen. Now we're doing one last torture test for black bars. Is off angle, and very off angle, especially with this demo here. Even on the new Bravia 7, if I got this far off angle, the bars would light up. You're seeing nothing here. But shadow detail is still present. I didn't notice the blacks or the crushing or loss of detail. To put a finer point on it, we'll also venture out of the more accurate preset to see if that changes. And even then, we are in theater, not just filmmaker, and we're going to move around the presets and see if the image changes. And now we're going to move into gaming. Now, as we move into gaming, there will be a completely separate video on gaming with console and PC. The TV is capable of 144 Hertz, also 240, auto low latency mode, AMD FreeSync Premium, high refresh rate mode. The game mode looks good. I wouldn't say it looks amazing. This is where mini LEDs tend to take a hit. Same with last year's HISENSE U8N and U8K. The game mode was serviceable, meaning it looked pretty good. The more things you enable, the VRR, the 144 boost, all those things do affect the image quality. That way for a lot of manufacturers. Just the game mode is not my favorite. Now with mini LEDs, or actually with any TV, the more you enable, the less latency, less input lag, but the image quality is gonna suffer. You have your crosshairs. The game bars are becoming pretty much all the same. Hisense was ahead of it last year, and they do better this year. They also have a sub menu, which you'll see here. Now, I wish it wasn't in the center of the screen, but being able to toggle these things from this shortcut menu is excellent. FPS counter. Now the picture modes you can switch. Now what's interesting with Hisense is the HDR game, HDR theater, and HDR sports almost give off the impression that they're still in a game mode. Though I think it's just letting you know that you're going back into game mode when it says enhanced. But there are now, as you see it right there, optimized for gaming. Leaving game mode with standard and sports actually is very responsive. Perhaps you'll do that for campaigns to get all of your functionality back. However, in those presets, things are still kind of grayed out, so I imagine you're still in a game mode of some kind. You have your game genre settings too. The challenge is I can't see what they're doing as the menu is in the way, but it does change the image. Flexibility in game mode for mini LEDs, very, very important. So while I think the game mode looks good, it is serviceable, it's not my favorite. You also have Dolby Vision gaming. There's not a lot of games that support it, but you do have all that functionality from Hisense. We're going to stay on console for the rest of this video. We'll go into PC when I do the game mode video on its own. Again, mini LEDs for me do struggle in terms of image quality in gaming, as a lot of their processing is not as fully fleshed out as it is. Dynamic contrast, things of that nature are disabled, which is something I'd like to keep on. Give me a little bit of higher input lag or latency and just give me a different preset for gaming, that is. Tekken looked excellent, very detailed. And why I show a lot of the same games is I get a chance to really see how they look on every other TV. Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, seeing the high specular highlights. We will follow up more, but gaming is very good. Not my favorite, but it's good. And all the features you could possibly want. Now, even without this being a full review, I can easily recommend the U8N for its high-end picture quality, excellent build quality, backlit remote, tremendous sound. You don't even need a sound bar. I should have touched on that after the sound demo. Sounds excellent. Dolby Vision, HDR10 Plus, excellent value, high-end picture quality. We'll do more game testing. We'll do a full review very soon. We'll put it against the U8K. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great day. Love you guys. Take care.